All right, everybody. It's the very last regular season episode of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball for this 2024-2025 campaign. Fear not, though, however, we have shows all off season long here on the Old Man Squad Network. Myself, Adam King, Noah Rubin will be guiding you through the doldrums, the sad times when we don't have fantasy games that count. And that is why I would hope that you guys will maintain your subscription to Old Man Squad on YouTube. And of course, Adam's and Noah's shows on traditional podcast feed. Those shows are called The Balls Deep and the Young Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Podcast. This, of course, is Old Man Squad. I'm Dan Vespers. Thanks for tuning in. I've been, again, kind of kicking around a number of different things we could potentially do on this last regular season episode. And where I landed with all of it was we'll go through the Thursday box score because there's five games and a couple of things to pull out of that for the weekend because every team that played on Thursday, all 10 of them, play again tonight and then again on Sunday. And then we'll just spend, 5, 6, 7 minutes, something like that, looking at what I'm doing down the stretch in the fantasy league where I did a little bit of this, I think, a couple days ago on the show. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday's episode of what am I doing with my roster on these last couple of days, and how does that apply to all of your rosters as well? So let's begin with the box score. A quick check on yesterday's stuff because that's what just happened, and there might be something we can use for the weekend coming up. Cleveland lost at Indiana, but the Cavs rested basically everybody in this game. This was a full revamp on the starting five, except for Jarrett Allen, who has not missed a game this year. And so the Cavs are going to let him play partials the next couple. It's gonna put a hole in his fantasy numbers. Jarrett Allen's basically going to finish the year as the number 40th ranked guy in about 28, 29 minutes per ball game. Pay no attention to the last couple. It ends up being a stellar season for Jarrett especially on the total side, but really all the way around. By totals, Jarrett Allen's number 13. He's basically a first rounder. He might get inside the first round with 2 more half games. It's going to be close. Past Vooch. Surprising twist there. Anyway, I don't think you need to play him, basically, is where I'm going with that, because of this whole, he's just going to play the first half thing. I don't know if the regulars for the Cavs are going to be back in their next 2. You obviously kind of have to hang on to them because they're so good. Even if they played a half game, it would be solid. If not, and if we get word on that in the next couple of hours, DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome are your 2 really good plays out of this backup contingent. And if a couple of guys are out, I still think you could probably play those guys. And again, the reason we're going through it like this is that you're going to see a lot of established fantasy, regular, reality fantasy, whatever, basketball players that don't play today or Sunday. Because that's it. It's 15 gamers today and Sunday. Full card. Nobody will play is on Saturday, meaning if somebody gets ruled out, you probably just drop them, regardless of how high their fantasy rank is, because playing DeAndre Hunter over those guys is a good move right now. He had 23 and 11. I had picked up Ty Jerome in a bunch of spots for yesterday's ball game. He had 24 points, 6 assists. Indy's still playing their guys because I think they're still fighting with the Bucks and or the Knicks. Yeah, they're a game back of the Knicks. They're 3 up on the Bucks. I think they've now officially pushed themselves ahead of Milwaukee because there's only 2 games left, so they're not going to get caught there. But technically, they could still catch New York. Probably won't happen, but you never know. So the Pacers are probably playing their guys for at least one more ball game. That means that you can just go kind of with the usuals: Haliburton, Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, Aaron Nesmith if you need efficiency and threes and maybe a steal, and that's about as far as you go there. Knicks have their guys back, but will they rest any of them? The question really is, how bad does Tom Thibodeau... Well, do they have the tiebreaker? That's what I don't know off the top of my head. We'll find out. If Cat rests, one would assume that Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achua will split those minutes. Precious started here and played 40 minutes, which obviously pretty notable number of minutes, but there were a bunch of guys out. So Brunson was back, but Josh Hart and OG Anunoby were both out for this ball game. So Deuce McBride took Hart's spot in the starting lineup. Achua took Anunoby's spot in the starting lineup. And just keep an eye on what New York does for this ball game, because again, if you can catch a New York Knicks starter, that's usually a pretty damn good thing, because Tibbs is going to play those guys a bunch. But we can't know until later on, so, just put a pin in it. Detroit, will they play their guys on the back-to-back? The Pistons are locked into the 6th seed. I don't think they can go anywhere. Do they have? I don't know if they have a chance to jump over Milwaukee. So you might get some rest games. Keep an eye on it. If Tobias Harris rests, that's good for Asar Thompson. If Cade rests, that's good for Dennis Schroeder. If Jalen Duren rests, that's good for Isaiah Stewart. And again, there's this kind of one-to-one thing with Detroit, which is helpful. Oh, and if Tim Hardaway Jr. happens to miss a ball game, that's good for Malik Beasley. But much like some of these other teams, can't really do much with it for a couple of hours. Atlanta beat Brooklyn. This is fine. Nothing really to see here. Atlanta is trying to stay ahead of Chicago to be in the 7-8 pocket, because then they could win one play-in game and be in the playoffs. It's the 2 to win 1 if you're in the 7-8. You only have one shot if you're in the 9 or 10 spot. So Atlanta's still playing their guys. Zachary Reese-Shea had a big one here. He'd been pretty bad before this. Kind of explodes like once a week, basically. Not a guy that I'm playing against a games cap. Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu. Those are the only ones until Atlanta gives somebody a day off, which maybe they'll do on Sunday, but keep one eye forward for that one. If Trae Young sits, we've seen, Keaton Wallace put up decent games in the past. If Dyson Daniels sits, I don't know how much it changes much. You probably get a good Karis LeVert game. If Okongwu sits, that's a Dominic Barlow potential ball game. Nets, hate them. You guys know how much I hate Brooklyn. I started Reese Beekman in a league where I needed assists. He got 4 of them. Played 13 minutes. What a joke. Nick Claxton played 19 minutes, sat out most of the rest of this ball game, and it was indeed Drew Timme that picked up the center minutes. So if Claxton sits, at least there's a kind of a 1-to-1 there. Timme, I don't know if he'd start. Watford might. Trendon started at power forward in this ball game, technically. Oh, man. What a crap dink of a basketball team. Pain in the butt. Just a huge pain in the butt. I do think that Timme's playable if Claxton actually does sit a ball game, though. What a shame that Day'Ron Sharpe is not healthy to pick up that spot. New Orleans, they're just sitting everybody. Antonio Reeves is playable if you need scoring inefficiently. I don't think I would play Jeremiah Robinson Earl. That makes me nervous. I don't think I would play Jamal Cain. If Karlo Matkovic gets another start, I would consider that one. You get threes, boards, blocks. He's a nice little combination guy there. And then Elfrid Payton, just straight assists. He is not looking to shoot at all. But he did get 15 assists in this ball game. So again, specialist appeal and a really clear specialist appeal. I definitely do have Payton on at least one of my fantasy teams where I'm hard-charging assists, and I definitely do have Antonio Reeves on a team where I'm trying to score a bunch of points. Matkovic would be the other one, again, that you kind of keep more than one eye, like 1.5 eyes on. I might consider picking him up. I don't know. Do we think New Orleans plays any of their guys the rest of the way? Probably not. Blah, 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 blah. For Milwaukee, so this ball game was over early, and that was helpful for guys like Gary Trent and Kevin Porter Jr. And I guess that sort of complicates things. We're talking about the Bucks. They're not going to be able to catch the Pacers. I think they have the tiebreaker over the Pistons. I probably should have looked that up before going on air. Whoopsies. So Milwaukee, they do have a chance to rest some guys. Certainly if they could want to rest them in a back-to-back, that would be a time we've seen do it. The teams do it. They've got the Pistons twice here down the stretch. So a tiebreaker I would assume is not set in stone. So I don't know. Does Giannis get the back-to-back off? I think they feel like they kind of want to lock this thing up. Still, if you're looking towards the Sunday at least, Kevin Porter Jr. likely to have a big ball game on Sunday if Milwaukee wins today. Gary Trent, threes only. Bobby Portis, I think, should be on rosters. He's back and there's usage to be had. I think he should be started in most places, kind of regardless of who sits and who doesn't for Milwaukee. I don't want Kuzma. I don't want Rollins. I don't want Taurean Prince. And I think that's probably about where I sit with this club. And then Brook Lopez is a start. His job is not as easy to guarantee with Portis back, but who cares at this point? He's Brolo. Minnesota put up, 52 in the third quarter? Woo, that was a ball game. Anthony Edwards has been a totals beast this year, which again was the reason that you drafted him towards the end of the first round. If you did, I didn't, because my hope was to try to pick somebody at that spot that would be a per game monster. But yeah, Edwards did his job. He's a second rounder. Kind of a couple slots. He's like James Harden, but a couple slots lower. They've both played in 77 games right now. I think I would rather have had Harden for the more specialist-y type of appeal. Anthony Edwards has been a little bit more well-rounded in his fantasy game. And that crazy three-pointers number, it really did stick all year. Shout out to Anthony Edwards for hitting 4 threes a game. As far as who to play on this team, I don't know. I mean, I'm not playing Mike Conley unless you're desperate for assists, and he's probably going to sit out a back-to-back anyway. Well, maybe not. I mean, Minnesota, they really don't want to be in the play-in, and they could still get out of it. They're in a 3-way tie. One of those teams will be out of the play-in. The other two will be in it. Maybe he does play. So Conley, you could, I guess, go for assists. Gobert is startable. Anthony Edwards, obviously startable. Julius Randle had a big ball game here, but, he's more of a counting stats kind of guy. Jaden McDaniels, barely startable. Naz Reid, barely startable. None of these guys are that exciting. I'd be totally fine, by the way. And again, this is because you got 2 games left. If you wanted to drop Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo, these guys could all be dropped. I don't say you have to, but if a weirdo's on the waiver wire who's going crazy down the stretch, take the weirdo. Memphis, pretty straightforward, even if somewhat annoyingly so. Slower ball game for Zach Edey, but the 30 minutes is what you're looking at there. So Bane, JJJ, John Morant, Zach Edey, those guys are the starts. Santi Aldama is more of kind of like the long-term play, and we're in a very short-term stretch right now. So, yeah, you can feel free to go another direction there if you really wanted to. And you guys have heard me, I've been back and forth on Aldama pretty much the entire damn season, and I've landed on, you could probably just play him and close your eyes every month, or you could not and just turn him onto one of these streaming slots. And that brings us to the next point here, which is you're like, okay, Dan, you're talking a lot about GamesCap Roto. What's a streaming slot in GamesCap Roto? It's everybody. As I flip over to one of my Yahoo teams, we're just going to look at a roster now. And this is the same team we looked at a couple days ago. It's tied for first place. And my roster is super weird. I'm fully aware of that, and I'm okay with it. I've still got a lot of my main tanks here on this one, the big guns. I got Halliburton still on the club. LeBron is still out there. Jokic is on this team. And if you have Jokic, you should be in the top 3 in your fantasy league. But I also picked up Harrison Barnes, Bryce Sensabaugh, Bobby Portis, Kevin Huerter, Malik Beasley, Antonio Reeves, Lonnie Walker. How about the six guys that just got rotated on my roster within the last probably week? I think. And that's the point to be had here. On Yahoo, it's a 13-player roster. Walker Kessler and Trey Jones are in my injured slots, but I don't expect them to come out. And even if they did, I probably would drop them. So let's go through and understand how I got to this point. After I remind you of our new partnership with our friends over at MyBookie. The Masters is in full swing. It started yesterday. And there is still money to be made because you got outrights on the Masters. You got matchups, live betting on the Masters. That's kind of cool. You have a live bet on golf. Makes it move a hell of a lot faster when you're watching it. Long shot bombs with the MyBookie money bag. If there's an edge, you'll find it. Not only that, hey, this weekend is UFC 314, and there's an odds boost on Michael Chandler for UFC 314. Do you guys know what odds boosts are? That's plays that my bookie makes exceptionally easy to win. It's an odds boost. They boost your odds of winning. Thinking about some in the past, like, there were NFL games in the past where they moved the total down by 12 points or something like that. So you could bet the over and you'd have a huge boost on it. It changes the expected outcome from around 50-50 to more like 60-40, 75-25, things like that, where you have a really good shot of winning your wager. And they drop these odds boost, every month or two. And it's a great way to just put $10 to $20 in your bucket. Just stay on top of it. And we're talking about when I used to really be on top of this stuff and had a lot of time on my hands and I could check daily or keep close watch on my email, there were times where, it was $200 to $400 a year in odds boosts. That could literally be all you play for the next decade, and you'd be bored because it wouldn't happen enough, but you'd turn a profit. And for a limited time, deposit any amount between $50 up to $2,000 and get a half deposit match instantly with our promo code MM50. Move your stuff over to MyBookie. Today's the day. Do it now. If you've been betting anywhere else, switch it. MM50 at MyBookie. They're a partner here with the Believe Network. They're a partner with us on Old Man Squad. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Let's talk again about the team I've got going right now. As we talked about a couple days ago, this is the Jokic Booker team. Jokic was, I think, my number 2 pick in the draft. I took Booker at 23 coming back, LeBron at 26 in the 3rd round. And yes, this team's in good shape because my starting 3 were all decent to great. Jokic has been very, 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 very good this year. And mostly healthy. Jokic is going to end up missing, about 10 to 12 games, which is acceptable. It's not great, but it's acceptable. Booker is going to end his season missing probably 6, 7, 8 games, something like that. He hasn't been outstanding, but he's been good enough. LeBron is going to miss about 11 games as well. And for a Games Cap Roto League, that's fine. It'd be great if those guys all got into the mid-70s in games played. It's not always going to happen that way. This team would probably be outright in first place. Right now it's in a tie. But you know what? I got basically a first rounder and then a 3rd rounder and then a 2nd rounder. I flip-flopped Booker and LeBron based on where they ended up. But, by totals, these guys all did fine. Jokic was number 2. LeBron was number 22. And where the hell is Devin Booker? Ben Booker's number 20. So basically, I drafted at value on my first 3, and that's all you need to do to be extremely competitive in basically any fantasy league is don't bleep up your first 3 picks. But now we're at kind of a different part of our equation, which is the stretch run. So let's go to the standings, and this is exactly what we did on our show a couple days ago, and see where you can make headway. All right, we talked about this before. If you remember from a few shows back, 3-pointers is really the only one, which is kind of weird. Usually there's like 2, maybe 3 categories that you could be hunting or semi-hunting. The only one in this league is 3-pointers. I'm 3rd from the bottom, but then there's a bunch of teams that are all right in front of me. See, I'm at 1,301. Although, actually, I'm closer now in free throws than I was before. A couple of teams came back to me, so I could possibly go also that direction, which is useful, by the way, because if I'm attacking 3-pointers, those guys are probably okay foul shooters also. So free throws, you can try your best to guess on who's going to be a good foul shooter, but you really just have to catch them on the right day. So I can't do a whole lot there besides just pull any of my terrible foul shooters out of the lineup and then pray for the best elsewhere. And if my team has 2 really good foul shooting days, I'm going to win this league. But I can't bank on that. I got to go get one of the other categories. And I'm 18 3-pointers behind this team Schmotty. And then I'm 26 3-pointers behind 2 other teams. So there are 3 possible roto points for me to grab if I can rocket up the board in 3-pointers. Odds that I catch these teams that I'm 26 threes behind, pretty damn low, unless, can my team put up 25 threes each of the last 2 days? And then I would also need those teams to not do much at all. Good news on one front, though. Actually, two pieces of good news. Couple pieces of good news is two of the three teams I'm chasing in 3-pointers are last in the league. So my assumption, and I can open up tabs to check on this, and I'll just tell you what's happening. My assumption is that those teams are probably not setting their lineups anymore. So, they're not going to get 20 games played out of the last 2 days. And in fact, if I look at which team is this? This is one of the ones that I'm 26 3-pointers behind. Ja Morant, James Harden, Peyton Pritchard are all alive and kicking. They've got Randall in there as well. So they're going to get some 3-pointers here down the stretch because those guys are going to play. But Zion, Keegan Murray, Isaiah Hartenstein, Trey Murphy, Joel Embiid, those guys are all in their starting lineup, and they're not going to do anything. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, they might get five or six games each day. So we're talking about a team that's going to use up 10 to 12 of their games cap, and I can use a full 20. Is that going to be enough if I have, an extra 8 games than them to catch up 20 some odd 3-pointers? Probably not still, but it gives a shot. The other team that's down near the bottom, I can't tell if they're setting their lineup or not. Their team is largely healthy, which is crazy and super unexpected, but I don't think so. I think they've pretty much thrown in the towel, but they do still have 8 or 9 guys that are playing, and so that's somewhat troublesome. That's going to make it a little bit harder to catch them, but if I can get the full 20 games played and they only get, 16, and I got to try to catch up, that gives me, again, another shot. The other team, the piece of good news there is that they've maxed out their point guard, their shooting guard, their small forward, and their forward in games played. They have 1 game remaining at guard, power forward, center, and utility, and they're going to try to do the annoying thing where you go 1 game over by doubling up on the center and utility spots. And this one's going to kill me because if I don't get all the way to the games cap in this league, which I don't think I can even anymore, I'm at 798, so I can get 2 shy. If I end up losing, if I end up not getting first place, and I could have if I got those last 2 games in, I'm going to be so irritated. But again, all of these little pieces of news is reason for optimism because that team only has 4 games left to use. And if they game the system, they could get as many as 6. That means I can get 14 more games played than that club that I'm trying to chase. Can I get 26 3-pointers out of 14 games played? I think the answer is yes. What's my deal with the center and utility spots? Yeah, I mean, I can game the system there also, so I could probably make up for it. Even though I'm not going to get there in shooting guard, power forward, or forward, maybe I can go, 2 games over in center and utility. That's the only way to do it. So then it comes down to this other set of decisions. Now, you guys are watching me kind of work my way through my own team here, but I want you guys to do the same thing on yours. And then don't be afraid to just dump players that don't make sense for what you're doing or bench them. Christian Braun is on my bench. He's been awesome all season long. I don't want to play him. I'm fairly certain, and I can go back and try to check this thing. If we look at the transaction report, you'll see. I want to see my transactions. I'll show these on the screen. Here's what I did a couple days ago, and a lot of these are within the last couple of days. I dropped Rudy Gobert. Obviously not a droppable player. Top 50 by totals, perfectly reasonable. But he ain't going to hit a 3-pointer, and he is a bad free throw shooter. I don't want that guy on my team. Now I've gone back too far. These are moves that don't really have any bearing on anything. But you can also see that I'm making 3-4 moves a day right now to just try to hit the games cap. Like, I dropped DeMar DeRozan. The move I made ended up sucking. It was terrible, but I dropped him because he doesn't hit 3-pointers. All I care about in this league, which maybe that was a little bit dumb because DeMar is one of the better foul shooters on my club, but is he going to do it himself? Can I for sure guarantee that DeMar is going to go 5 for 5 at the free throw line? He could very easily. Look, he had an 8 for 12 game just a couple weeks ago. You never know. You can't bank on the free throw one. You got to go make your own luck. And if I can go gain 1 or 2 points in 3-pointers, then I'm not sharing the first place trophy. Then it's all mine myself. And I want you guys to do the same thing. Go figure out what categories you have a chance to gain in. Figure out what categories other people are trying to pass you in, and drop anybody that doesn't really matter for those, even if they're super awesome. DeMar DeRozan is number 40 by totals on the year. He's in the 40s, I think, on a per-game basis. Guess what? I don't need what he's good at. I don't need a ton of points. I don't need assists. I don't need rebounds. I don't need steals. Yes, the free throw would have been helpful, but I need three-pointers. And so I loaded up my team with guys like Bryce Sensabaugh, and you can look at the average stats over the last 7 days. I basically wanted to get exclusively players in my starting 10 that have hit more than 2 3-pointers a game. And by the way, there's a very reasonable shot right now. You can see I have Devin Booker and Bryce Sensabaugh in my utility spots. The reason I have Booker in utility is because if I find out, for one, he might sit because Phoenix is still eliminated, or two, I might throw Harrison Barnes in there instead of him because Barnes is hitting 4.5 3-pointers a game over the last week, and Booker's hitting 1. I need threes. I got all these guys, everybody that I slotted into the more difficult spots to move, with the exception of LeBron, is hitting 2.5 3-pointers a game or more, and my 2 centers are hitting 2 3-pointers a game or more, although Bobby Portis, again, has been back for a grand total of 2 ball games, but I wanted to make sure my centers hit threes. I want to make sure that my forwards hit threes, so that's Kevin Huerter is at 3 1/3 a game. Malik Beasley is at 3+ on the season. Antonio Reeves I picked up because he's hitting 3 a game. Lonnie Walker is at 4 a game lately. I want to try. I'm maxing it out. I don't care that these guys suck in a lot of ways. I don't care that Malik Beasley is number 262 over the last week because he's shooting 34%. I just care that he's going to hit 3 threes. I don't care that Antonio Reeves is shooting 39%. Nobody's catching me in field goal percent. First, I have Nikola Jokic, so that pretty much guarantees nobody's catching me. But also, like, it's not going to change much in these 2 ball games. And so here we go. Can I get 2 to 3 out of Halliburton and 3 or 4 out of Lonnie Walker? And can I find a way to get close to 25 to 33 pointers in each of these 2 remaining days? That's my goal. I want 53 pointers, 5-0, Friday and Sunday combined. If I can get 53 pointers, I think I got a really good shot to gain at least 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 roto points, and that locks it up. So do the same thing I'm doing. Drop guys that you think might rest. If we find out over the course of today that guys are resting, like Orlando's already come out super early today and said, we're resting everybody. No Paolo, no Franz, no Wendell, no Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Yes, Corey Joseph, however, will play. So, like, you know, most roto leagues, it's day before or fab budget type of moves. But if you got a league where you can make a move day of, Orlando is going to have Cole Anthony going completely crazy tonight. He's the only man left. You might even get a rare Goga Batadze game. But this is the stuff you want to be aware of. As teams lock up a playoff spot, if the Lakers beat the Rockets tonight, they're going to rest everybody on Sunday. Clippers and Warriors, probably not going to rest people. Grizzlies, Timberwolves, probably not going to rest people. Kings and Mavs, they got to make sure that, you know, they're all fighting to try to be the 9 seed. Suns, eliminated. Probably going to start resting people. Blazers have already kind of begun to do so. How about the Eastern Conference? Cavs, we're already seeing rest days. Celtics getting rest days. Bucks are probably a game away from a rest day. Magic are resting people. Hawks probably need to win one more. Hawks, Bulls, Heat, they got to play through one more. Then maybe a Sunday rest. So use all that information at your disposal. Make these educated decisions and go try to get those last couple of roto points because as you guys can see here, it could be the difference between, it could be a couple $100. Play your cards right. While everybody else is out there just throwing their best players in their lineup, not you. You're not going to throw your best players. You're going to throw the players that fit the best. And you know, it's also notable here. I can't pass the guy in front of me in anything. I'm behind him in rebounds, but I'm not catching him. 200 rebounds back. So don't just look at like who's in front of you in actual standings. Look at each category individually and find out who's in front and who's behind you. And Yahoo has this nice little board down at the bottom that shows like how close people are. Look, you can see this next 3 pointers on above my name is close. Free throws right above it. There it is. There's nobody anywhere near me in field goal percent. No one's near me in points. There's really nobody near me in rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. Like, I got this massive buffer everywhere. I guess turnovers, I could potentially bench everybody and gain a point there, but like, wouldn't it be easier to not do that? To go win? I mean, you could do that on the last day. Because look, this team, but that team's about to run out of games played. So that's dumb. Don't do that. And this team, I don't know if they're even going to play their guys the rest of the way. If they do, they'd probably pass me in turnovers, but I don't want to put up zeros from here on out. Now you're playing with fire. There's legitimately, it's weird, actually. There's really only one category that anybody's all that close, and it's threes. So go figure out what yours are. Figure out if it's a couple. Maybe you can find players that are specialists in both of them. You might have some tough calls in there, but make the right choice. Clean it out. Get a win down the stretch. And then tell me about it on Monday when we're back with our first off-season episode of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching all season long. I'm not going to do like an, oh, it's over kind of thing, because guess what? We're right back at it on Monday. We go Monday through Friday, one show a day, all off-season long. And then when leagues open in August, boom, then we'll start doing our twofers. It's going to be an incredible 365 days for Old Man Squad with all the new talent we're bringing aboard here. 2 of my really good buddies. I'm over the damn moon, really. Like, I'm so excited to see what this network can be with many, many faces and names doing stuff all at the same time. It's going to be so much fun. Thanks for hanging with us all season long. Subscribe. You guys have already done that. Nobody new watching right now. Hit that like button. That's still helpful, believe it or not, even if the handful of you that are listening and watching. And if you haven't done it, you got to the end of the year, iTunes, Spotify, do drop that 5-star review. That's right. I said do drop. So pleasant, so serene, a do drop. I'm Dan Bespris on Twitter, at Dan Bespris. Old Man Squad on Blue Sky, and Old Man Squad on Twitter is the actual network feed. On Instagram, but I'm probably not going to put anything on there for a couple of months. So, blep, off we go with that one. I will see you on the other side of the regular season. Ooh, we got playoffs to watch. They're going to be so much fun this year. All right. See you guys Monday. Music screw up.